Okay.
How many of you are content with government as it stands currently today? To answer this question, one might reply, no one can ever be fully content with the government. With every new political problem that arises, our government must find a new solution. The cycle is infinite, and therefore we can never be totally content. My issue with this statement exists in not in the reasoning over whether or not it is possible to be satisfied with the government, but based on the general assumption that the ability to solve large-scale problems falls on the government to begin with. Here in the U.S., the federal government does not have to be the highest authority, neither reasoning, provision, or even justice. Libertarianism is a status system of government, meaning that each of you here in the audience could potentially have a role in individualistic legislature and policy. To cite the Constitution, nowhere in our highest governing documents state that the U.S. is to have a two-party system, a majority rules policy, mention being defined as a democracy, or any of the other constricting labels that we tend to associate with today's federal government. It does make clear, however, that we as Americans actually live in a republic that guarantees individual rights, and that the government has no right to take them away. This is why we have a Constitution in the first place. Thomas Jefferson put it, in questions of power, let no more be heard of confidence in man, but bind them down for mischief by the chains of the Constitution. Following this ideal inspires me to take this time to explain the reasons why I believe people should vote Libertarian and run as Libertarians. Libertarianism supports a change in government policy by taking power away from elite individuals and realigning it in the hands of average citizens with the goals of self-governing liberty and political freedom. The U.S. should be a libertarian government, because libertarianism advocates that the government serves only as protection for its citizens, and will eliminate political corruption and involve communities in the actions of government forms that define each of their own livelihoods. The U.S. should be a libertarian government because libertarianism advocates that the government serves only as protection for its citizens. According to Libertarian congressional candidate John J. Myers, most of the problems that we face as Americans are caused by unjust manipulation of the government. The warfare state, terrorism, insurance, healthcare, energy, education, and even government corruption are all prime examples of how our government's attempts to do good for some actually backfire on some. Libertarianism, however, supports the constitutional right and motivation for citizens to go forth as individuals and pursue their own ambition, livelihood, and financial gain, while relying only on the government for nothing more but physical protection and upholding these rights. Sadly, these are not the ideals of today. Right now, government representatives are constantly giving money to insurance, energy, oil, banks, agriculture, education, foreign aid, and religious causes. By what right can they do this? It's not our government's job to take our taxpayer dollars and give them to these organizations. Their only job is to protect our life, liberty, and property. In Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution, you will find the 17 enumerated powers of government. Where among those powers do you see the power to give money to any of those industries? It's not there. We've strayed away from the republic that our forefathers envisioned. A nation of united citizens whose success contributes to the country of self-reliance and sovereignty, the exact same vocalized ideals as the official statement of the Libertarian Party. The U.S. should be a libertarian government because it would eliminate political corruption. In the current but unofficial two-party system, ultimately one politician from each of the parties addresses the nation, not necessarily on their own accord, but often for the reason of appeasing the party that supports them. I personally don't have any confidence in the figure known as a politician, and many agree. These politicians' reliance on wealthy and powerful party leaders for financial and political endorsement actually comprises the most corrupt system of government possible, which is why I ask, if we're all so sure the government is corrupt, why be so quick to give them more power? When we are taught that we only have two parties, they are robbing us of choice. Libertarianism is the third choice. What we really have is a majority opinion, and no one standing up for the opinion or rights of the minority. Too often do political individuals and officers who are under the pressure of responding to the demands of the country, as well as the often conflicting demands of the party, succumb to the corruption of extortion, re-election tactics, and unethical political or financial empiricism. It's become increasingly obvious that throughout the executive branch of our government, individual politicians find themselves overwhelmed. They have decision-making power and face dramatic repercussions on a daily basis for their errors of judgment. These errors are often just defined as such by not being in compliance with the views of ever-changing, quote, democratic majority. Democracy is the idea that people can vote themselves to. But the first question is, where do these things come from? According to Roderick T. Long, the writer of Towards the Libertarian Theory of Class, a direct democracy is theft. It's a legal theft, but it's not much different than a gang with guns stealing from you. Because if you do not submit to the will of the majority, a man with a gun will soon come and take your stuff and possibly put you in jail. On a more serious note from the same reading, libertarianism is the view that each person has the right to live his life in any way he chooses, so long as he respects the equal rights of others. Libertarians defend each person's right to live, to life, liberty, and property, rights that people naturally before governments are even created. Democracy without balance would be a dangerous notion. In a libertarian republic, individuals have rights, and no government official can pass legislation to take those rights away. The U.S. should be a libertarian government, finally, because it will involve communities in the actions of their government forums that define their individual livelihoods. While libertarianism does have its own party, its benefit exists in that it will never be restricted to the label of conservative or liberal. And because it's a collaborative collection of opinions, no one ideal can be carried as its defining stance. The insertion of this type of small government allows legislative channels to trickle down towards private citizens and make voting on laws that are best suited for them individually and not best for their party. Individual citizens are provided with channels and forums to govern themselves and their states in intimate collaboration through both open forum and formal legislature. Taxes levied and collected are not composited and then redivided based on an arbitrary policy and future intentions of governing parties. They are devised on current budget requirements and individual community projections. This ensures the contribution is constant and relative, based only on the need and expectations of citizens and individuals. Since the foundation of the political party, libertarians have stayed true to this message. Less government, more freedom, and stand strong behind social and fiscal freedoms, which include religious freedom and tolerance. Take responsibility for your own definition of liberty and take it into your own hands. Vote to limit government roles and empower yourself and your community.